people can't read your mind, and so you have to be very vocal about where you want your path to go.
Welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast, a free resource for women who work in the sports and entertainment industry. Each week, we get real and talk about the things that hold us back and how we can overcome them and keep climbing to the top. And the top is however you define it. We talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Consider this podcast your secret weapon. You will learn from the best in the business and be able to take immediate action with all the advice that you hear. I'm your host, Jahaan Blake, a leadership development coach and consultant. I've worked in sports for 20 years. 15 of those years were spent working for the Red Sox, Dodgers, and the Cubs. After 15 years of working in the front office, I took a leap of faith and I started my own business. Friends, as a Black woman in sports, I know that the industry can take a toll on your confidence and sometimes leave you feeling defeated. Join me each week so I can support you on your journey. I promise you, each week you will feel stronger and more confident than the week before. So let's get started with this week's episode. She was reluctant to be groomed for the role of commissioner, but after spending an hour with Sonja Stills, you will see exactly why she is the commissioner of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. In this episode, Sonja takes us through her journey in the sports industry, including why she only asked for one promotion in the last 20 years, the value of being present in your current role, and being vocal about your ambitions. She talks about why it's okay to ask for a promotion, even if you've only been in the role for less than a year. She also talks about why it's essential to not only have a seat at the table, but also to have a voice. All right, Game of Her Own listeners, let's do this. Sonja, welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored to be.
All right, before we dive into your career, which I was doing my research and my homework, and it is incredible. But before we dive into that, take us way back in time and tell us when you first fell in love with sports.
It's crazy because I definitely don't have a sports background. And I always say, I played church softball league. I was highly recruited to play church softball. But the only thing that I played was softball one summer when I was in high school, and that was it. And so growing up in the 80s, there's nothing on TV in the summer except for, once cartoons are over, it's sports. So you're able to see like wrestling, WWE, all that stuff, and baseball and golf and football. So you got used to seeing everything, the stars from all the various sports, which is kind of different than you do right now. So, even wanting to go to Old Dominion University where I got my undergraduate degree, I saw the commercial. I got bitten by the big blue beast, ODU basketball. And so I'm like, I'm going there, just off of that. So that's really how I got into it. It's just being surrounded by it, no matter what you did, is just a part of life. But just getting into my career in athletics is a totally different story because that was not my aim at all.
Ah, okay. And why don't you tell everybody what you do now and who you do it for?
So I'm the commissioner of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, which is made up of our Elite 8 members, HBCU, colleges and universities, of course, from Delaware all the way down to South Carolina.
Now, first of all, I need to say, I'm going to miss those days. Like, I'm an 80s baby too. So I miss those days when there was nothing on TV, nothing to give you, like you just wanted to be outside because there was nothing to watch. Now there is no shortage of television programming to watch.
Absolutely. Look, I can binge Netflix. I got it all. Everybody trying to cut the cord to save money. Shoot, I'm spending more because I want Netflix, Hulu, Max. I got it all, and I still got my cable. I gotta have it all because I need variety. And that's how I feel like I'm able to disconnect. I want to spend my time in somebody else's world and their drama than, dealing with the everyday of what's going on and be like, shoot, let me shut this down. So let's get lost in somebody else's drama.
Yes. And I look outside and the sun is shining and I'm like, I really should be outside, but this is so good.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. In Game of Her Own listeners, you can't see the animation that I see in Sonja. She is just like, she's into it. So you keep hearing me laugh. That's why I'm laughing, because she's so into it. So you're the commissioner. That's a That's a big job. Talk about that journey to getting there. I know it's a broad question, but I saw that you were with the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference for 20 years now, right?
Over 20 years. That's
yeah.
over 20 years. Yeah. It'll be 21 years in October. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Yeah, right. So I've been in sports for 20 years. So I have that same reaction when I'm like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's a long time. Talk about that from going from the director level to the commissioner level of one organization. And I know we only have an hour, but like those 20 years and being at the same place, that's a big deal. Not everyone are lifers anymore, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. It's truly a blessing. It's truly a blessing. I worked for an extraordinary man, Dr. Dennis Thomas, and I actually worked for him since 98. And I was not working for him for only about 2 months from when he left as the athletic director of Hampton University, and then him coming the commissioner that August of 2020. 2002, Lord have mercy, I'm old. 2002, he sent for me in October of that year to come join him at the conference office. And it was surreal because I had never lived away from family before. And I cried all the way down the road, but I was coming because one of the biggest things that he told me was, it's time for you to get paid for what you're worth. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but I only got one job. He's the director of compliance. I was like, I don't even like compliance, but I'm coming. He felt like, I'm going to make some kind of impact. So, hey, I came, learned the position as the director of compliance. Right then, it was like a 3-person, I won't say 3-person, but he only had 3 directors, and they were all women at the time. The director of championships, director of media relations, and then myself. So I always like to tease, like, we're Dennis's angels. He was very much so somebody who was like ahead of the game when giving women opportunities, which was very good. But he definitely is the one who really groomed me into this position. I was fighting it all the way, but he was preparing me along the way because I didn't have that athletic background. My education is in counseling, and I really fell into athletics when my former supervisor, Mindy Sofer, my undergraduate supervisor, moved to athletic academic support. And I really wanted to work with her. So I was like, you know what? Shoot. So I did my graduate internship with her. And that's where I really fell in with working with the student athletes and just seeing that other side of things. And I was able to, I became a Delta 2 semesters before that. And so I had found my big brothers, these Qs, one summer, and they have to be football coaches, assistant coaches at Hampton University, hanging out. They were like, what you doing at ODU, the study hall, working with the advising, because back then, not telling my age, academic support really wasn't a big thing back then. They didn't have that. She's like, well, why don't you come and do that with us? So I volunteered, and the great Joe Taylor really gave me the opportunity and gave me like 5 redshirt student athletes to work with and advise. And so that's how my name kind of floated around the university to Dr. Thomas, because I actually sent him a letter asking, can I start the athletic academics program at Hampton? And we played phone tag because back then, you didn't have a cell phone. It was just regular old phone.
It was like a chance, like, all right, I'm going to call. Let's see if they're at their desk.
Exactly. So it was like hit or miss and then never connected again. He heard my name floating around. So when I graduated with my master's, I didn't know, really what I wanted to do, but it just so happened that a friend of mine in class said that the Dean of Women was looking for an assistant. So I was like, okay. So I went up and talked to her, and it just so happened that her aunt used to babysit me when I was young, or military families were together. So she hired me. That's how I got my foot in the door. And it was one thing my mom always said, just get your foot in the door and then you'll be able to move. So
yes. And this is getting your foot in the door at Hampton University. Is that right?
Yep. Get my foot in the door at Hampton University, and loved what I was doing, working with Jewel Long, a longtime Dean of Women at Hampton. Had a great time. The VP of Student Affairs, Dr. Rodney Smith, he said, how you like what you're doing? I said, I love what I'm doing. I love it, but that's not what I want to do. I want to start the athletic academic support program. And it just so happened that he was the chair of the athletic certification committee at Hampton. And so he set up an interview with Dr. Thomas to start the athletic academic program. And Dr. Thomas hired me on the spot. And then I was able to start the program at Hampton in 98. Yeah.
Wow. So what was the name of the program that you started?
It was the Athletic Academic Support Program.
Wow. And that's when you met Dr. Thomas. And you said someone asked you how you were doing with your job. And you're like, I love what I do, but it's not what I want to do. Talk about having that self-awareness, because a lot of people get a job and then people say, how you doing? It's great. It's great. I'm having fun. I'm just so grateful to be here. And you were like, love it, but it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So what's the thing? And that's why I try to tell, interns or people who come to the office is be present in the job that you're in currently. So that's why I gave that job everything that I had and enjoyed it and made it my own. But still, I had to let the VP know and be very vocal about, but this is what I want to do. And people don't really do that, so that they hear and understand that you want to do something else. And people can't read your mind, and so you have to be very vocal about where you want your path to go. And so that was how it was able to put me in the right room to get the opportunity to be able to start the Athletic Academic Support Program. And so I was very fortunate, but I had to be really good at what I was doing to even be recommended to be able to do that. So so that's what I say, when you have to be present and getting focused on doing the job that you're hired to do, that's going to help you get to where you want to go, because people watch you. They see what you're doing. They see whether you're hungry. They see whether you're putting in 100%, or are you just biding your time or just trying to be under the radar just to get the job done. And it's a difference between having a career and just doing a job. Yeah. I want to have a career. So my path had to be a little bit different.
See, I love the self-awareness on your path. So you're in this position for a year and a half, the assistant to the dean. Mm-hmm. And I've heard people, I've had potential clients who've called to have a consult, and they like, I've been in this job for like a year. I don't think I should ruffle feathers and talk to somebody else. It's only been a year and a half, so I don't want to ask for a promotion, right? And that, as a coach, that breaks my heart, but, I have to meet them where they are. But right. What's your advice to women who are thinking that you have to complete a certain amount of time before you can present and pitch for a promotion, if you will?
It's funny because, I've had several individuals who came to work under me, and they've only been here a couple of months, and hey, I want to change my title. I want to get a promotion. And I'm like, you ain't even got no time here yet to be talking about getting a promotion, a title change. And I'm like, well, and then, sometimes you stop and you think, you're like, it don't cost me anything for a title change. This title change can help them feel good about what they're doing, take ownership of their job or their responsibility. And so why not? Why not ask for what you want? And so, it's very intentional. Either when you're hiring somebody, you always want to ask, so where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Because what you want to make sure that you have somebody who's coming in, who's got some staying power, who's going to be there, versus somebody who you think is going to be there for a short amount of time. I want somebody who's going to come in and leave a legacy behind. If you have been in a job and you've made an impact quickly, heck yeah, ask for a promotion. But you need to be able to run down a list of things that you've done that not necessarily your everyday responsibilities. Because I always say, why am I patting you on the back for doing your job? I want to pat you on your back for doing something above and beyond, something that's going to make us better. But if you're coming in from 8 to 5 and you do nothing more, nothing less, don't stand out. Don't come in here asking me for a raise or promotion, because you're just doing your job.
Yeah.
I want somebody who is getting in there. It's being vocal. It's very important to have a voice. When you're in the room, are you going to speak up? Are you going to be that leader in the room? That's what I want to see. So I don't mind giving somebody a promotion. It might not come with money, but the promotion and the title might speak more volumes for them as they prepare and they move in their career. When somebody looks at their resume, they're going to see, oh, shoot, she was this, They don't know what the money was attached to it. They know that this person had this amount of responsibility and I need to take a look at that person. So that's probably my best advice is ask for it, but make sure you backed it up.
Yes. And I like the other side of it too, as the manager who's being asked, be open-minded to it. What are you going to get out of giving this person a title increase? Maybe you can't do a promotion like in terms of like a monetary one, but a promotion in title and being transparent about that. You're right. Like what value are you going to get out of that? How is that going to motivate and inspire your employee and keep them long-term?
Right. And you always want to make sure that, okay, so what is your goal? How can I help you get there? So if you want to be an athletic director, okay, what do you need? Okay, you need to do fundraising. That's not a part of your job, but hey, you need to get out there and get at least $5,000 to get your skills up on being able to reach out to corporate partners. Budgeting, okay. Here, this is your budget for your department. How can you run your budget, stay under budget, that type of thing? But how can I put you in the best position to be successful? Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to communicate what you need, what you want, and what's going to help you move. Because what I don't want you to be is, we're a small organization. So there's about, 13 of us? So to a certain point, there's going to be a ceiling because assistant commissioner, they're probably going to be here for quite a while. So if you're a director, and I always say, when you get in here, you should be here maybe like 3 years tops. So either you need to be moving up or you need to be moving out to a better position, not making a lateral move, but moving up. So how can I help you do that? But you can't get comfortable, cannot get comfortable and just like, again, trying to fly under the radar and just, you're doing a job. You got to come here, you got to get a career and you got to be able to fly. So how can we help you fly? But you can't just be comfortable as a director because you're not going to be happy. You got to grow. Let's go back to Dr. Thomas, because that's where I took you away from that. I go all over the place, but I can always bring you back. How did you get someone to say, or how did you influence, right? Someone to say, you need to come over with me and it's about time you got paid your worth. Those are words that everyone wants to hear from, somebody in a leadership position, somebody who can make that happen. Like, talk about that, the work that you did. I mean, I can only imagine, but talk about the work that you did. Depending on who you ask, he's a hard person to work with. And he's not really a hard person to work with. He's an old football coach. He wants what he wants the way he wants it. He's a very intelligent man, but he's very particular. Once you know that, you know who he is. It's no surprise. And he always say, know your personnel. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. When I started the Athletic Academic Support Program, I was in an office right beside him. They had made this closet into an office. And that's how I first started. So whenever he needed something, like it was a memo or something, hey, I jump in. Whenever he needed something, or I would volunteer to help with game management, because remember, I didn't have an athletic background. So I volunteered to work the pass gate. I did game operations in on-court presentations, corporate partnerships, whatever he wanted, I was there. So when there was an opportunity, I think a year in, the SWA, Senior Woman Administrator position came open, and I was the natural fit into it. From there, it was just not saying no and not saying the famous words, which is, am I getting paid for that? That's not in my job description. Well, people forget that one line, that last line on your job description says other duties as assigned. Everything is my job. And so I was willing to learn, new things and really to share in the conversation. And so that was important to him. He could rely on me. He knew that I was somebody that he could trust. And so for him and anybody who comes and goes into a new position, you got to bring people that you can trust. And so he knew that I was going to work. I wasn't going to complain. And the focus was about the student athletes. And so that was going to be my thing, my student athletes, and I was going to be his support. It wasn't about me. It was about the organization. And so I didn't mind playing in the background. I prefer to be in the background. And that's why I was fighting him tooth and nail while he was telling me I was going to be near this commissioner. And I was like, no, I am not. I don't want your job. I do not want 13 bosses. You are enough. And he don't care. He didn't listen to me. He continued to put these opportunities in front of me to help me grow. So he knew more about where my potential was than I believed what my potential was. And so that's how you get into that, of course, imposter syndrome, like, oh my gosh, they're going to figure out I'm not supposed to be there. I have that all the time. But you got to work through that. But he was somebody who, it was never the same job each year. And people always ask me, how could you work there for so long? Because it was never the same job. He allowed me to stretch my wings and recreate the position. So when people are like, this job is boring, well, reinvent the job that you're doing. What can you do that's different, that makes it unique and fun? Compliance is boring. It is real boring. However, look, I'm going to do a compliance workshop and it's going to be themed out. I'm going to have, girl, I'd have a thing, have a song. Look, if it's not fun for me, it is not going to be fun for them. So, it's doing that type of thing. And then, one time he was like, you do I want compliance video. Like, compliance video? I don't want to be on front of no camera. Girl, I'd have costume changes. Get all into it. But I was game. I was game for the opportunity to do something new, to different and creative, because compliance is boring. So I had to make it interesting for me. And then if I can make it interesting and entertaining for me, look, I don't care if you don't laugh or not. It was funny to me. So
I got fun. I had some fun doing it. Sonja, I have to ask you though. I love saying yes to, right? That was my motto too when I worked for different teams, like taking on new opportunity. Loved it, said yes. But at some point were you like, okay, I've taken on a lot of responsibility now. Let's talk about money. Like, what's your approach? What has been your approach? I'm sure everyone can learn from you.
Probably not, because it's the bad. It's because let me tell you this. Through my career, I have never asked for. One time I've only asked for a promotion. Everything came. I focused on doing the job. And as I focused on doing the job, then things came. And Dr. Thomas was sitting me, he's like, at the end of the year, he was give out bonuses, or he'll give me a letter and say, now you're the assistant commissioner. Then I'd be like, yeah, call my daddy. And it's like a surprise to me because I'm focused on doing the job. So it's humbling to me that he thought so much of me and what I was doing to be able to promote me various positions. The only time that I asked for a promotion was I was named the executive assistant to the commissioner, or special assistant, executive assistant to the commissioner. I always say that when you're around women leaders, it's a blessing and it's a curse. You have those ones that would say, hey, oh, so you're the secretary now. No. I'm the executive assistant. Nowhere does it say that I'm doing administrative work. I'm his assistant. And I told him after I got a couple of ones of those, I was like, you know what? Can I please change my title? And that's where he changed my title to assistant commissioner, because I wanted them to understand the position that I held in the office, which was the second in command. And so the title needed to reflect that. And so that's where the change came.
Were you transparent with Dr. Thomas as to why you wanted to change your title?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, and that goes again, tell him what you want. He's probably not thinking that. So, my experience is like, okay, if I'm going to get the respect that's due, and if that respect comes with a title change, then I need to tell him that. And he understood that. And so that's the only time. Any other time, I'm focused on the job. I'm having fun. Everything's not always fun, but focused on doing the job. And then everything just came, and with him, like I said, people say he's hard to work with, but if you just do what he wants, the way he wants it, it's like any boss. They have a certain way, a certain style. And so you're just giving him exactly what he wants. When you start bucking the system and trying to do what you want to do, you're not the boss.
Yeah.
You do what they want to do. If you want to be the boss, you got to go somewhere else, or you start your own business.
Yeah.
So people have to realize that it's all about following and doing what's expected, but what's the vision? You got to follow the vision that's set. And if that's not the vision that you want to follow, then you need to find another organization.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because not everyone gets a Dr. Thomas, throughout their, career. Yeah. And so sometimes we're all out there looking for a Dr. Thomas. Like, all right, I need someone who's going to have my back and who I can just show. I mean, that's a lot of people's dream. I just want to show up and do my job and do it really well. And you just compensate me fairly and you promote me fairly. And that sounds like that has been your experience. And if that's something you want and you're not getting it from your manager, your boss, then it's time to move, right? Yeah. You have a conversation first, but try where you are. And if you're not getting anywhere, then it's time to move.
Right. And the best thing about Dr. Thomas is he was very keen on ensuring that what everybody in the office is getting paid, at least the average of what other conferences are paying for those positions. And so 9 times out of 10, we were on the high end, and they might not know that. And that's one thing, everybody not going to know what the bosses know, right? But asking the question, but if you do your research, we were always on the high end because he wanted to ensure that he treated us really well. So he made sure that, we have one of the best insurance in the country. I would say pay 100% for you and your family, because if you're out traveling, the last thing you want to think about is, oh my God, you got to pay for this. Oh, my family is not going to have this. No, they have everything that they need while they're gone. You're getting paid what you're supposed to. Now, how you spend your money, that's something different. So if you're short, you need to manage your money a little differently, but you're getting paid what you're supposed to be paid as anybody else in that industry, for that. So he very, very fortunate by him being able to really ensure that we're getting paid for what we're worth.
That's incredible. That really is outstanding. Now, you said imposter syndrome. Yeah. And you had it all the time and something you had to just deal with. And I am shocked just in talking to you in these 30 minutes, just like that you suffer from imposter syndrome. So talk about your experience and how you manage it.
This job is stressful. Working is stressful. And I realized that when I got to, when I was in athletic academic support, anything that if a student athlete failed a class, I felt it. And like my stomach dropped as if it was my grade, so I internalized a lot, and that comes out physically ill, because of the stress, because I care so much about the student athlete or the job or whatever that I'm doing. And so I really realized the imposter syndrome is when I became the director of compliance. And so remember, I was in academic side. I was fortunate that Zeke Avery, who was the compliance person at Hampton, they called us Mutt and Jeff. We were together all the time. So he taught me some of the compliance side. And so I had a good foundation when I went in, but I had to do the first compliance workshop. And I was like, oh my God, why did I not pay attention when I was sitting on the opposite side? I went shopping. I was like, this is compliance, I'm going shopping. Girl, I'm there like, why did not sit in that meeting? Because I'm up front and now everybody's going to know, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Girl, I'm driving. I was like, what if I just veered off the road, broke my leg, then I can't go to the meeting. This is the stuff that be going through my mind. Like, oh my God, I cannot do this. They're really going to find out that I don't know what I'm talking about. So breathing is one thing, you got to get in your Wonder Woman stance, breathe and realize somebody told me that, because I call Dr. Thomas. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do, girl, you got this, you'll be fine, and, I'm like, okay, all right. Once I get started, and I do, and this is the same thing when I'm in the commissioner, when I became the commissioner. Once I get started talking, I'm like, you know what you're talking about. Okay. All right. But then somebody told me, don't nobody know if you know or don't know. You standing up front, they're assuming that you know everything. And if you don't know something, just say you don't know. And that's the thing. I'm like, I research, I'll get back to you. It's as simple as that, because everybody doesn't know everything. 9 times out of 10, you're the one who has the majority of the information, probably a little bit more than they do, to be able to sound like you know what you talk about. And sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it. I hate to say that, but because sometimes it don't work. But But I think it's realizing that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to say that you don't know and that you'll get back to them. And I think that's how you kind of come into getting over that imposter syndrome. You're there for a reason. And Dr. Thomas brought me there for a reason. And so you had to be capable, you had to have the knowledge base or the potential to be in that position. Hey, I must be good enough to be in that position. Now, I know we don't see people, you like, what the hell? They shouldn't have been up in there. But, they're not talking about them. You're talking about yourself. For yourself, you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm here for a reason. And I'm going to do the best damn job that I can do.
Some of the toughest conversations we have are the ones that we have with ourselves. We can convince ourselves to believe stories that we don't even know are true. What's crazy is we allow that story to take a toll on our confidence. Have you been there before? I know that I have. We get in our heads. We beat ourselves up. Here's some tough love. Nobody's got time for that. We are high achieving women who have big career goals. We don't have time to get in our own way. And I am here to support you with my new one-on-one coaching program, Step Into Your Power and Own Your Career. My clients have told me that when we work together, I've helped them get out of their own way, regain their confidence, learn how to manage their emotion and mindset. They've told me that they've been able to get their voice back and use it with confidence. The most important thing, they've told me that we've identified the obstacle that was getting in their way. If you want to learn more about this program, scroll down in the show notes, click on the link that says Step Into Your Power and Own Your Career. You can set up time to chat with me and we can figure out if this is the right program for what you need. All right, let's get back to the episode. Now, it sounds like you were reluctant to Dr. Thomas grooming you, right? So now you're at the Senior Associate Commissioner, right? They changed your title to Senior Associate Commissioner. And people will be like, you're going to groom me for this position. And now I love your honesty, because I feel like people aren't honest about the anxiety they feel when someone says, I'm going to groom you to be a commissioner. I'm going to groom you to be like an executive. People want to hear those words, but sometimes they hear them and they're like, oh dear God, like I can't do this. What do you mean? Right. So like talk about your reluctancy and how you handled it and how you talked to Dr. Thomas about it.
I know he doesn't listen to me, but one time, look, first he'll be like, I was like, I don't want that job. And he's like, get your hands off your hips. And I'm like, well, I got to go through my process and then I'll get over it and then we'll do it. But with him, it's like he knew. So he would include me in conversations, and people, they always say I'm busy. I got work to do. I'm busy. We're all busy. But he would sit me in any meetings that really don't have nothing to do with me, just to hear the conversation, and then talk about, well, after the meeting's over, well, do you know why I did da-da-da-da? You know why I said this? So I can understand the thinking of why you made the decisions that you made. And he like, and this is what you're going to do. And I'm like, I'm not doing that, but okay, I understand what you're talking about. When he said, okay, it's time for you to you get ready, because I'm not going to do this job forever. I'm like, well, it's okay, because I'm gonna make room for somebody else. I'm happy being the number 2. I'm a strong number 2, and I'm good with that. But what he said to me was, you can do this. You can't do it. I'm thinking like, I'm not going to be like you. I can't do it like you. I'm not supposed to do it like him. I'm supposed to do it the way I do it. And that's what he said. He's like, you just got to do it your way. You take all the stuff that I'm telling you, all the advice, and you can take 2 things and throw the rest in the garbage, but you got to be able to do it your way. And so for me, it was getting comfortable with having, again, 8 bosses compared to 1 boss. That made me nervous. Again, not having the athletic background, like, okay, I'm running a whole conference and I ain't played nothing but church softball, right field, and the ball probably ain't coming that way. So how am I going to be able to do this? But not understanding that I've worked with the conference 19 years at that time.
Mm.
Everybody already assumed that this was my position because of the work that I've been doing. So for them, it was like a natural transition. In my mind, it's like, I don't know what the presidents might want. They might want to get somebody outside of the conference. They might want somebody who's not under his tenure, so they don't get the same thing. Because when you want somebody new coming in that hasn't been there for 20 years, is the conference still going to move the same way? Mm-hmm. And so understanding and going back and thinking, okay, my vision isn't the same vision as him. My vision, I was a good worker because he set the vision and my work helped support his vision. That's what I was supposed to do as a good worker. But now that I'm in the seat, okay, this is where I think we should go, because now I got the history. And this is where I think this is my vision for it now. Being able to talk with, and I talked with Jackie McWilliams, the commissioner from the CIAA. I talked with the commissioner from the SWAC, Dr. Charles McClellan, before I took on this position, just to get their feeling like, this is what I'm thinking. And so they kind of helped me understand that, yes, obviously I can do the job, but I have to be very intentional about separating myself from Dr. Thomas's vision and creating my own vision. The other piece to that is, and what I recommend is, Dr. Thomas was good at giving me a seat at the table. I was around the table with the presidents. However, Dr. Thomas was a leader that only he speaks for the conference. And so he led the meetings. So I was there, but I very seldom had opportunities to speak. And so my nervousness when he says, okay, I'm grooming you to be the commissioner, that's like, the presidents don't know who I am. They know I sit in the meeting and take notes, but they don't really know who I am. So that was my, again, imposter syndrome. Like, they don't know who I am to take this position. So the great opportunity is that he told the president, like, this is the person. And they are like, they want to do a search. And so I'm like, I told you, that they might want something different, but I'm gonna still put my name in the hat, And so because I would probably be sick if I didn't do it. I needed to be able to follow through. Girl, I know I had put on my Lizzo, my Mary J, my Kelly Clarkson, getting hyped for the interview. And, and the first question was, and this is when I got to the top 3, and it was in person, and all the presidents were there except for, I think, one was on the call. And the first question was, why do you want to be the commissioner? I was like, why not? And I was like, I must have been too hyped listening to my music because I scared myself. And, it's like, well, but in essence, like, why not consider me? Why not? I know where the conference has been. I know where it can go. And there's no learning curve there. Let me go back to why you have that seat at the table. Not only I wanted to make sure that with my staff that they have that seat in the table, but they also have that voice, so that the presidents know if this is your shop and you're an expert at that, then they need to hear from you. They don't need to hear everything from me. I don't know everything. And that's precisely why you hire these various people, because you don't know everything, but you got to surround yourself by good people. So giving those individuals a seat at the table, but most importantly, giving them that voice at the table to show, because I want to make sure that when a job or something becomes available, they'll remember, I remember how this person, they did a great job. They spoke really highly. I'm going to consider them for the job. Those are the opportunities that you're going to be able to provide once you give them that seat and that voice.
So tell me this, you were talking openly on this podcast about imposter syndrome, being nervous, just, the whole interview process to be commissioner. Where does that courage to be able to talk about this, like, publicly, right? And so, like, I imagine I'm not the only person, podcast or interview that you talked about it. What gives you that courage?
I'm not the only one. There are people out there who have the same insecurities, who may not go out for a position. And most of the time, yes, I am nervous, sick, girl, anxiety, all of that. But at some point, it's funny. I always say, look, what the hell? Just do it. Let go, let God. And whatever happens, happens. And that's what you got to do. It's the same thing getting on a roller coaster. I'm scared, but you know what? What the heck? We going. We gonna go and we gonna have a ball. We gonna scream and yell and okay. It was a ball. But you had to actually get in that seat in order to take that ride. And so why not? You may get a no, but at least you tried. And I learned that being in the seat and interacting with the staff, and I've been that person, that go-to person for the staff for so many years. I hear the insecurities. And I hear the, I don't think this is the right thing for me or that type of thing. So I know there's people out there that's the same as me. And so let's keep it real. I may not supposed to say everything, but if it's going to help somebody, it's just me.
Have you been that way your whole career?
I've been,
the transparency, like of being nervous or imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah, Dr. Thomas like, stop saying that. And I'm like, just keeping it real. I can only be me. Usually with people, I'm an introvert. Girl, I'm such an introvert. I can get to a room and I'd be like, all right, let me see. Okay, who do I know in there? And I gotta be with my person, or I gotta be with somebody who's an extrovert in order for me to feel comfortable. Or I'm all in and you're my best friend. We could talk and I can tell you everything as if we've been friends forever. And I love that. But after a while, it's kind of like, okay, I got to get to my room. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to see nobody. I love you, but So it's just, I don't know. I have to be, I don't know, just got to be me, authentically me. And that's what I was trying to get, when I was talking to my staff. If you can't be authentically you, then there's a problem. And I can tell when you're not being authentically you. And you should be able to share maybe not everything about your life, but you should be able to share your authentic self, whether it's still in a professional manner. You could be, we out hanging out, drinking. Okay, all right, we cool. It's going to be the same person there or the same person in the office. Is just authentically the business me and authentically the me hanging out, having a good bourbon or whiskey or something like that. But we're going to have some fun either way.
Yes. Yeah. And it sounds like too, one, I can't believe you're an introvert. Like I wouldn't think that at all. But what I hear you saying is it's really about being professional when you're sharing your truth and what if you're nervous or this or that, or you don't want to go for the job because you don't think you could do it. I wonder too, are you selective in who you share that stuff with when you're talking to, like, does your team know that? Because I think what I'm getting at is there's some leaders who feel that way, right? They're nervous, they're anxious, they have self-doubt, they don't think they can do the job and they got to stand up and do it. And they're afraid to share that with their team because they think they're going to seem weak and
they know. Now they know everything, I'd be like, oh my God, my stomach. Oh my God, I got to go speak. And they know me. I hate public speaking, but I have to do it. But I want them to know, like, I know you're nervous. We're all nervous and it's okay, but you still gotta go. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So being an introvert, I have to force myself to get out there and meet people and start conversations where I'd rather just stay in the corner or stay to my own people. I have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in situations that definitely makes me anxious. There's no way around it because that's just my personality. I'm a mixture between my mom and my dad. My mom is the introvert, my dad is the extrovert, and it just depends on when you get me, you might get either or. But majority of the time, I'm either laughing, it's music, but I have to be authentically me. Like when Dr. Thomas was in his office, my office, you can hear my music sitting in his office and he could care less because I was happy and I was getting the work done. I was being authentically me. Nothing changed. And so I think I definitely know my staff knows me.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And I love that you said one of your career superpowers, you talk about servant leadership, and then you say the best creative moments are when you let your staff be free to collaborate once you set the vision. And this will be my last question before rapid fire, but what does that look like for you, right? Because that can mean something totally different for whatever type of manager, but what does that look like for you to let your staff kind of be free?
So part of my vision is being able to tell our story graphically, visually, creatively. I have a mixture, but I have a pretty young staff. And that's intentional because how am I going to be able to connect with the student athlete? If, I grew up in the 80s, 70s, 80s, what I like is not going to be what they like. I don't know the current trends. And so I have to be open-minded. And so I don't want to restrict them from being as creative as possible because they know we're meeting the student athletes where they are. And I don't know everything. Again, I like Facebook. They telling me we're not posting on Facebook because it's Instagram and TikTok. Well, you're going to put it on Facebook because I'm going to be able to see it. This my friends. They going to see it on Facebook. But keeping that open mind, like I want to see it. I would rather pull you back than pull you along. You got to be able to just go out there, experiment. If we fail, we fail, but at least we try something different. But what I don't want to do is see the same old thing. So you got to be able to let them be free and creative and just throw everything against the wall and something's going to stick. If not, oh, well, we tried it and we're going to try something else new and different, but we're going to learn from it and we're going to move on.
I like that. And so what I'm imagining is your office is really fun. You don't care, right? Like if your employees have some music on, if that's what gets you going, that you do that. If you need to take a lap around just keep walking. Like today, I had a great call and I needed to brainstorm. And so for me, I was like, okay, I'm just going to clean while I do it. I came up with 1,000 ideas, but I'm like, gosh, I couldn't do this. I didn't have that freedom. That's why when you said that, I was like, oh man, I could have worked for you. I didn't have that sort of freedom when I worked at different teams and I had a direct manager. Like if I was like, what are you doing if I'm working from home? Oh, I'm brainstorming while I clean. They'd be like, what? Right? Like they wouldn't believe me. And so that's why I imagine your office is so much fun to work in as a result of that.
I think so. And sometimes I get bothered by some of my little older ones who are so set in their ways. And I'm like, they try to kill my buzz. Well, I'm like, what? And they're like, well, no, you should. I don't know. Let's do it. It's that type of mentality. So I had like with Dr. Thomas, very traditional, that football coach, that type of thing. He wanted us to be ahead of the curve. I'm more so like, I want to make history. So we the first at doing something, let's do it. Be a creative, even working with our corporate partners. Look, signage, of course we can do signage, but what can we do that's different, that's unique, that meets both of our goals? That's not just signage. Everybody can do signage, but can we do something like a symposium? Can we, do something on social media that's different? Give me something different, not the same old, same old.
Yes, that's a good place to end and go into rapid fire questions. Okay. 12 questions. First thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Let's go.
What is your favorite sports moment?
Church softball, when I finally caught the ball in right field. I jumped up and down. I was so excited. And of course, everybody in the infield was like, throw it in, because I let a run going through because I was celebrating.
Oh, it's fantastic. What is something people always get wrong about you?
Oh, wow. I would say that I'm not an introvert.
Yep, I got it wrong. Yep. What is one food you wouldn't want to give up?
Fried okra.
Oh,
girl. You can mix it in with some salmon and some girl.
I have not had that in a long time. See what happens when you move away from your family.
Go to Cap D's, get that grilled salmon and rice, and get that breaded okra biscuit. Girl, that's amazing.
Are you a morning or a night person?
Night.
Favorite holiday?
Oh, Christmas.
Dog or cat person?
Dog.
What product would you stockpile if you found out they weren't going to sell it anymore?
Fenty perfume.
Okay. What is your favorite app?
Forgot the name of it, but it's I like the numbers.
That's an app?
Yeah, it's one of those game apps, and you color the numbers and you color these pictures. I can do it. I can lose hours by just
lose hours.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just glad you didn't say Facebook. Okay. Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram?
Instagram.
Who's your biggest inspiration in life?
Mom, my mother.
As a child, what did you want to become when you grew up?
A lawyer and teacher. Those two things.
All right. Last one. Finish the sentence. The future of women working in sports is
going to dominate.
Ooh, I like it. Sonja, this has been an amazing conversation. So much fun, so much laughing. If people wanted to get in touch with you, how can they go about doing that?
They can go search for me on the LinkedIn with my name, Sonja Stills, or they can go on to Instagram and Commish Stills, COMMISHSTILS.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for this time. This was such a great conversation. So much fun.
Anytime.
So what did you think of this episode? Do you know another woman who works or is aspiring to work in sports? Would you do me a favor and share this with them? It would mean so much if together we could support and inspire other women on their journey. And let's stay connected. I love meeting and talking to new people. Follow me on Instagram at Jahaan Blake and join the free Game of Her Own community by visiting jahaanblake.com. I can't wait to meet you.